I say to you, before you accuse me and this movement of being advocates of hate, I want to first ask you, who taught you to hate? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? To such extent, you bleach to get like the white man. Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose or the size of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head down to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so you don't even want to be around each other. Oh yeah. So I say and I say again, you've been had, you've been took, bamboozled, led astray, run amok. You've been hoodwinked.
More black men in jail or in college?
Jail.
More black men in jail or in college?
In jail.
Are there more black men in jail or in college?
Jail.
What percent of black boys drop out of high school?
25. 80. Percentage of black boys that drop out of high school?
Drop out of high school.
I want 55.
Ten black men. Of those 10, what percent are gay, bisexual, or on the down low?
I'ma go with half.
What's the ratio of women to men on Howard?
Like 18 to 1?
Hold on, I'm not done. 65 to 35. With 25% of that 35 being homosexual. So,
What's the ratio of women to men on Howard University?
Ooh, too many!
Name a positive stereotype about black people. We can run, jump, and dance and sing.
Name a positive stereotype about black people.
Positive stereotype about black people. Can't really think of one.
Just let me read this. Let me tell you, because I got this. And this is somebody who actually wrote this. For over 400 years, the majority society has used many tools to reinforce a message that the peoples of African descent are less than, not equal to, or not good enough. In this modern era of information, the media, the government, and special interests use statistics to further promote the message of black inferiority. That's what this gentleman is saying. What troubles him the most is that we have internalized the misinformation, embrace the myths, and perpetuate the stereotypes, sadly reinforcing a collective misperception of our own identities, which led this gentleman to make a movie called Hoodwinked. And this is his second film. He's doing this too often in our Discord. Well, let me just read something else here. He says, this is a bunch of, it's really good. But then the question is, why? And let me tell you where the statistics from. These came from the latest census, the Department of Education, the Department of Justice, and other government agencies reporting social, economic, and racial data. And the gentleman who says, I'm going to tell you his name, James Morton. He's putting this film together. He says, this challenge to you is, as a black American, if a celebrity gets caught cheating on their spouse, you head right to the local internet search engine to fact check. He says, the next time you hear any data or statistics about blacks anywhere, be just as diligent in your search to confirm or dismiss the story. Because as I see it, the ratings, the notoriety, and the funding will always promote the negative statistics
Well, that's what I'm
about,
thinking.
and that's what you were saying.
So I've been busy, and this is what got me famous. The page down, Claire. One question. Are there more black men in jail or in college? Go back a page, please. What hurts me to my heart is that I'm a one-man operation. I do a lot of media. The Washington Post has reported this. The LA Times has reported. Where did Ebony Magazine go? I was in Ebony Magazine. Black men. That's me right there. I'm serious. Ebony. It's in there. It's more black men in jail. More black men in college. Ooh, I almost messed up on film. Woo. Are there more black men in jail or in college?
In jail.
Okay, more black men in jail or in college?
Jail. I'd say jail.
In jail. I would have to say probably in jail. In jail. In jail. In jail. Jail. In jail.
Are there more black men in jail or in college?
Jail. Jail. In jail.
Probably jail.
Why y'all say jail?
Look at the campus.
Right?
Because this is an HBCU, there's a lot of more girls on this campus. The ratio is 13 to 1. It's some small number. So there's a lot more girls here than it is guys. And then even at the predominantly white colleges, there aren't a lot of African American males.
Why you say college?
I don't know. I just feel like there's more in college than jail, man.
You're the only person today that got it right.
You got it right?
The only one, thank you.
I say college because these statistics that the media portrays, they're not real. They're not they're not getting everybody together. The general population is not everybody that they tested. So I say college.
And now, the news you can trust. The Black News Network.
Good evening. I'm Sean Jackson.
And I'm Micah Davis. And here's the news. More black men in prison today than were enslaved in 1850. Black men in the United States face a far more dire situation than is portrayed by common employment and education statistics. More black men live in prison cells than in college dorms. Black males lagging diplomas. Grim graduation rates for black males highlight racial gap. Researchers say black male college students deserve national priority. According to a recent report, only 26% of black males between 25 and 34 have an associate's degree.
Anything that you see in the movie, this is an actual reporter. This is a reported headline. Do you see what they're saying? How much negative stuff is on this screen? Remember I told you about the number of hours? How much negative stuff about black men is on this screen? One, you're a slave. See that? This is what they put on, and y'all didn't catch this stuff half the time. Two, there's a cradle to prison pipeline. Black men are disproportionately and statistically incarcerated. This is the one that you gotta watch. 32% of black males born in 2001 can expect it. Who comes up with that? They're saying in 18 years, a 30 y'all gonna go to, who can make that estimate? Who's got that crystal ball? Does that make sense? It's a forecasting. But if you hear her language as well, it's just over for the black man. So when I stand before you and say there are more black men in jail or in college, about half y'all still gonna say jail. This is what you've been eating.
My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I am a professor at Syracuse University. I'm the founder of the Your Black World Coalition. I am a scholar of finance as well as what some would call a black social commentarian, if you will. And I'm also an advocate for education. Media can take a small reality and make it into a big one and make us think something is more pervasive than it actually is. Make us think that it's systemic when it's actually idiosyncratic to the situation. And I think that an example would be if you live in a neighborhood where you're watching the news every night, and every night they're showing you a murder that happened in a city of 100,000 people. So if you're seeing a murder every single day, you might be led to believe that there's a lot more crime and a lot more violence than there actually is, or because you don't know the conditions under of any of this information you're receiving, and it's sort of being self-selected for you. And so what happens with black men that's so interesting is that there is certainly a degree of self-selection. It's easiest for a black man to get on TV if he's dribbling a basketball, throwing a football, singing, dancing, rapping, acting, blinging, balling, committing a crime, flossing, shining, whatever, doing something ridiculous, engaging in either coonery and buffoonery, or some sort of athletic endeavor, or some sort of heinous crime, right? And so what's interesting though is that life imitates art. We know that, and art imitates life as well. But but what can happen, unfortunately, is these images, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. We see the image, we see Lil Wayne with a mouthful of diamonds and acting just like a complete ass, and a million little boys imitate that because he has then promoted a lifestyle and a set of choices, and therefore it becomes true that you have X number of black men who are affiliated with gangs or affiliated with self-destructive behavior because they're emulating what they've seen on television. So I think that, but I think your point is very clear about there being a silent majority where there are millions and millions of black men who are simply normal people that love their children, that behave ethically, that want to get educated, that want to pursue excellence, that are hardworking, responsible individuals. And I think that's a reality that a lot of people understand. Anybody who spends time around African Americans, they know that not every black man is like the man they saw on television. But unfortunately that's the image that gets missed. Nobody really sees that.
Right there, see that little thing right there? That's Nielsen. Nielsen knows what you do. Why? Why does Nielsen want to know what you do? Answer. Anybody? Anybody? Why does Nielsen? Nielsen tracks how much television time. Why do they want to know? Statistics is good. Ratings. What's your name? Brittany. Love you for the rest of the night, Brittany. What is ratings? What does ratings equal? Money. They want to know what you consume. Page down. They know how much time you spend on a smartphone. They know how much time you spend on TV. They know how much time you even read magazines. They know everything about you. By the end of the day, through your teenage years, 10 hours and 45 minutes, in front of the boob tube, in front of the smartphone, on the internet, playing Xbox, all that stuff. Got it? How many hours between the ages of 13 and 19 have you consumed? Next page. Oh no, this is not what's going to blow your mind. The question is what's going to blow your mind. All that time you spend in front of the boob tube and all that other stuff, anybody, name me one positive statistic about black people.
Name a positive stereotype about black people in general.
I don't know any.
A positive stereotype? Wow.
A positive stereotype about black folks? Let me see a positive one.
A positive stereotype? I don't know what I can think of.
A positive stereotype about black people?
So your question to me is name a positive stereotype about black people, and I have to think about it. And that's pretty sad.
Give me a positive stereotype about black people.
We're good at football and basketball and every sport that we play.
Name a positive stereotype about blacks.
We can jump. I have no idea.
I was pretty much thinking the same thing he said. We always go to church on Sunday.
We can run, jump, and dance and sing.
Oh, I don't know. What do we even have? Is there any positive stereotypes about black people out there?
That blacks are athletic?
Yeah, athletics. That's it. We can jump high, we can run fast. That's
Positive stereotype about black people.
They're well endowed.
Name a positive stereotype about Asians.
We seem to think that they're skilled at math.
It's a positive stereotype about Asian.
Usually smart people.
Positive
really
stereotype about Hispanic people.
You could say they're hard workers.
So name a positive stereotype about Asian people.
Oh, they're smart.
Give me a positive stereotype about Asian people.
They're intelligent.
Would that be like how they're always supposed to be smarter than...
Name a positive stereotype about Asians.
Positive stereotype. And good in math and science.
Unfortunately, yes, that's the stereotype, is that they're very smart.
They make all A's. You see how it just came to me like that? But black people, you have to think. Like, yeah. That's horrible.
That's really Name a positive stereotype about Asian people.
Smart.
Name a positive stereotype about Hispanic.
I don't have. You're asking the wrong person because.
Name a positive stereotype about Asians.
About Asians? They're smart. They're intelligent.
Name a positive stereotype about Hispanics.
They work hard.
Now, the two y'all just named, if a whole group is smart, they build wealth. If a whole group works hard, they build wealth. Being well endowed and being religious don't build wealth. Name a positive stereotype about black people that builds wealth.
Well, we've always been good at sports.
That's individual.
Yeah.
Ooh. Dang, that is a hard question.
I feel like I'm put on the spot.
I mean, I guess we can say there's stereotypes about all types of things. I don't exactly, can you restate your question? I don't understand exactly what you're trying to say.
That's a good question. There really isn't none.
Dude, you caught me off guard. Positive stereotype? That's a hard one.
Can't, man.
We can't, to be honest with you.
We got our priorities mixed up.
We just have physical gifts that we don't use.
I know it's really sad, but like, I honestly can't really think of any. I feel like most of them are negative.
We have a stronger immune system. Boom.
Stereotype?
Positive stereotype.
I don't know. That's not a stereotype. But it's true though. We do. But stereotype? There aren't any positive stereotypes for black people. And
we do hair. We do good hair. I don't know. You gotta think. But
My name is Dr. Mark Lamont Hill. I'm a professor at Columbia University, Teachers College, and I study black males, masculinity. I write about politics. I'm an editor for the Philadelphia Daily News and the host of Our World with Black Enterprise. Well, it makes our job that much harder. You know, when you have black folk who have internalized white supremacy, some of the biggest white supremacists you'll meet are black folk. So when you have that kind of a message internalized, it makes it harder to do the work of fighting the stuff out there. Because if you've internalized your enemy, you'll be a better enemy to yourself than anyone else can be to you. I'm not ignoring the real structural issues that are out there in the world. I know they exist. I devote much of my life to fighting them. You know, I'm a hardcore left-wing activist, you know. However, in my activist work and in my organizing work, I sometimes can get frustrated by how our people, who I love deeply, don't love themselves deeply and don't believe that it is even possible that we can get beyond this moment or that we can get beyond these statistics. And as Howard Thurman said, they've scaled down their dreams to the level of that which is their immediate experience. In other words, they've become prisoner to an event or a circumstance or a moment. Yeah, we gotta move past that. And until we do, the work that needs to be done outside can't get done because we haven't even organized inside.
Just kind of thinking about all your questions makes me think one question is,
which image of black males do you see most on television all the time? Because we might not know these numbers. The numbers could be one way or another. It almost, what's more important is what we believe in it. Mm-hmm. It could be 90, it could be way, thousands more brothers in educational institutions than prison. But do we see that? Is that reflected in what we see? Because if it's not reflected in what we see, then it really don't matter.
Good point. Good point. Are there more black men in prison or in college?
The belief is there are more black men in prison than there are in college.
DC.
I don't think there are more black men in prison than in college. I would go as far as to say no.
The Irving.
I think there are more black men capable of going to college.
That's not what I asked you. I said more in college or in prison.
I think there are more black men. Oh man, Dr. Marshall, here you go, but prison.
All right. Next question. All right. I'm not gonna give you answers. Oh, you comment? Hey.
Obviously, I don't know. I don't know the numbers, but I can tell you what I hear all the time.
What do you hear?
More brothers in the pen than anywhere else in the world. That's what I hear all the time.
Well, let me say this from a biblical perspective. Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. And if you confess, one of every three of you all are going to jail, then you just put the nail into the coffin. Why don't we say what the stat says? The stat says one of every three of you are going to college. That's what destroyed Malcolm. Malcolm X. When Mr. Ostrowski told Malcolm, you can't be a lawyer, why don't you be a carpenter? Now, Malcolm was a brilliant 8th grade honor roll student, and the words of a teacher converted a scholar to a drug dealer. And it was the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that turned Detroit Red into Malcolm X. I'm Dr. Jawanza Kunjifu. I'm an author and educational consultant. I've written several books on black males, countering the conspiracy to destroy black boys, raising black boys, keeping black boys out of special education, understanding black male learning styles, and reducing the black male dropout rate. State of emergency, we must save African American males. Adam, where are you? Why most black men don't go to church, and developing strong black male ministries. That's a mouthful. And those are just the books on black males. Well, I want to stop there a moment. Okay. I want to commend you for being a breath of fresh air with regards to your positive scholarship. It's unfortunate that the way we seem to operate, if it bleeds, it leads. This notion of don't confuse me with the facts. So over the years, you've been the one putting it out there that there are more African American males in college than in prison. Now you get a lot more fanfare if you say there's more black men in prison than there are in college. Well, you were that lightning rod that brought us back to reality, that there are 1.2 million plus African American males in college, 841,000 African American males in prison. What's more unfortunate is when our professionals, when our advocates feel the same way and would not want to share your information. Like I said, when I received your information, I had to ask myself, now, do I want to continue, to say how many African American males are in prison? Or do I now contrast that with the fact that there's now a larger number? And when I got the information, I called Ivory, I went to the data, I wanted to make sure it was legit, and it is. 1.2 million in college, 841,000 in prison. Let me go further. You've also said it's unfair to compare this prison population of all age range to the college population, which is primarily, give or take, 18 to 25 years of age. So without your input, this would have been an unbalanced discussion, and we'd have continued to hear this notion more in prison than in college. So I think you need a lot of support, and you need to be commended for your research of making that real clear.
The problem with black research is that it operates from what's called the deficit model. Basically, I look at you and say, you have a problem. and you have the same problem, and you got that problem, you got that problem, you got that problem, and everybody's got this problem, like dropout. You understand? So from my sales background, what I do is I come in and I find a crack on the wall, like this. I make you believe that it's the Grand Canyon, and then I sell you the bridge so you can get across. That's the way the game works. Let me give you a more graphic example. If I sit in front of you and tell you there are more white corporation, there's more black men in college than in jail, do I get checks? No. If I say there's more black men in jail or in college, do I get checks? I get boatloads of money. Do you understand? That's deficit model. So the people who are working around activism for black women and black men are starting off with, you got a problem.
Well, the deficit model is when you look at risk factors, and that becomes a basis for all of your strategies. So if I have 100 young black males, I'm going to think about the percent of them that might go into the juvenile justice system, or the percent of them that don't have fathers in their homes. And I'm only gonna look at the things that will hold them back, and I use that as a way to, and I'm talking about people who use it, they think they're doing the right thing. My name is Ivory Tosin. I'm Associate Professor of Counseling Psychology at Howard University School of Education. I'm Editor-in-Chief of the Journal of Negro Education, and I'm Senior Research Analyst for the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. We have philosophical differences about what it takes, but this is what they believe. They believe that if they take all the negative stats and know that, and talk about that with the kids that they're working with, then both them and the kids will be motivated to beat the odds. That's how they feel about it. And so people who believe that way, one thing that they do is they tend to not really focus on anything positive. They don't really see a use for that. They focus on all the negative. They tend to be skeptical about anything that doesn't show young black men in a bad light, because they have fed their own spirit and mind with the worst. And so they become skeptical about anything good. And so, that's what they use in order to try to push the young black males to be better. Now, someone who takes a strength focus, what they do is they try to look for resilience. They try to look for the positivity. They try to look for, what are the aspects of this group that will launch them to do their best, and they tend to not focus so much on the deficits, because, people who believe more like me in the strength models, they believe that when you oversell the worst, it can seep into the spirit of these young kids, and on a subconscious level, they might doubt their own abilities. And I think that that's something that's dangerous.
Name a positive stereotype about black people.
Black people are physically strong. Black people are the inventors of, I really don't know.
This is the study that says black men are incarcerated at a higher rate, and it was flawed, it's bad, I'm gonna break it down. Go ahead, page down. This is the statement that hit the media, you okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a statement. It says basically 791,600 brothers were incarcerated and 603,000 were in post-secondary, in college. Got it? That's what the media got, that's why it went crazy, that's why all y'all say jail today. This was from 2000, okay? Page down. And what I do is fact check, especially with special interest, because you remember from the Viagra, special interest is trying to get paid. Got it? So this is from the Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Statistics. In 2000, see it? Black men, there were 791,600, which is this page up. Remember? Same number. See it? See it match up? All right, page down one. This is U.S. Census Bureau. They're reporting black men enrolled in college in the year 2000. Y'all see it? What's that number right there? Can't see it? 815. And remember, I started this conversation, I don't like the Census Bureau, but 815,000 and 791,000 more is even with the census and their troubles, is still more in college than in jail, right? Page down. So I go back to these fools and I'm gonna do fact check on them. Why do they say it's only 603 and why does the census say 815? Okay, I gotta figure out where they got their numbers from. Remember how we looked at the bottom of that study before? Same thing with special interest, page down. You go to the bottom of the study, this is just like that other stuff we saw with the doctor study. Remember acknowledgments and all that stuff? So I look and I go down and I say, where are you getting your information from? And it's right here. Department of Education, National Center for Education Statistics. I know them, page down. I know that. That's the Department of Education. I love that data set. I live on that data set. This is not census, this is DOE, which always show more black men enrolled than the census does. Y'all got that? So I look, this is where you want to go. 12-month non-duplicated head count of institutional activity, post-secondary. That's basically how many people are in college, non-duplicated. And this is the key right here, academic year. See that, 1999 to 2000? And what normally happens underneath here, you see a little checkbox. It says race. But in 2000, there was no checkbox. Y'all see it? No checkbox. But what I did see, oh, there's race. And then I saw this. These guys are playing a game. They took a full year of jail people and they took only the fall enrollment of college people, put them next to each other, and they said it's more in, is that a lie? Yeah. No, it's actually true. It's a misrepresentation of the facts. You understand that? But it's actually kind of true. But then I come back and show the whole year and like, what are they doing? And everybody thinks I'm the crazy.
Well, my advice to Janks Morton is make sure you can prove it. You know, when I was working on my PhD, one of the greatest signs of validity of any study is whether or not someone else can go in and get the same data and replicate the results that you got. If it's replicatable, then it's as credible as anything else that's out there. I think that what gives a tremendous amount of credibility to what you're laying out is the fact that you can point to a motive and a set of incentives that might lead someone to want to perpetuate an image or a stereotype that works to their benefit. So when I saw some of the numbers, you know, some of them I said, okay, what is this? But you know, if you can prove it, then I think that we should all be open-minded enough to accept the possibility that maybe things are not as traumatic and dramatic as we want to believe that they are.
Well, I mean, I think that overall we want to get the kind of resources that we need to help the people that we want to work with. And you know, when you write a grant proposal, the first thing you have to do is state the problem. You have to state the problem. And the more compelling your problem, the more funding you will get to fix the problem. And we need that funding. We do. You know, in the analyses that I do, I can paint the issues that we need to deal with without misrepresenting the information in a way that's going to deliberately undersell or deliberately oversell the problem. And I can put it in a type of space where it's being used responsibly and it's not being painted out there as an agenda for me to gain some attention or notoriety because I've said the worst possible thing.
Is this lens, this statistical lens, more and it's not even true. Now who's benefiting from that?
I mean, who is benefiting from that? It seems as if, and this is the light bulb that popped up above my head a couple minutes ago, it seems that if everybody's benefiting from it but us.
Yeah. Some of us might benefit from it too.
Right, but who I'm speaking,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Who I'm speaking specifically to is the folks in the community who are looking for funding to do certain things, who are going to grab every single negative statistic and not look for good statistics because good statistics don't help them out. I'm talking about, you know, whether it be the school systems or the Poverty Pimp Community Center or whatever the place may be, like all of those spots. They not only are looking for the bad statistics, and it seems as if they're making up the bad statistics, but also reinforcing false information.
Because, and if you're putting out there that these are the accurate numbers, then funding gets pulled back. You don't need my funding. You don't need my foundation. You just told me that such and such is graduating at a high rate, so we got to keep putting out that our program has successfully helped matriculate 84% of black males who don't have GEDs.
Break time. I'm ready to go. 1-800-765-3437 is the number. Street Soldiers, it's Black History Time. And it's time for you. We'll be back.
I've never went public with this. I've sat on this for 5 years because I'm a first-time filmmaker. I don't want to step on people's shoes. I'm trying to be Christ-like, but that game is like over with this movie. You understand this? This is the Justice Policy Institute receipts. In 2002, they received, and this is one funder. This is not all of it. From one funder, $41,940. 2002 is when the study came out. In 2003, that same funder gave him $76,000. It doubled for that BS study. Can y'all see that? The deficit model to black, if I put out bad news about black folks, I will get paid. I say this all the time. It's a dressed up version of this. I say that there are people and principalities that have a vested interest in and are compensated to misinform you so they can mismanage you. Your mismanagement leads to your division leads to their profits. If you take one thing away tonight, understand that the strife that is put between black man and black woman is one of the most profitable sectors in the American economy. Think like a man. The single problem, the relationship problem, #1 at the box office.
Black male dropouts lead the nation in incarceration. On any given day, nearly 23% of all young black men ages 16 to 24 who have dropped out of college are in a jail, prison, or juvenile detention center.
A magazine study claims black women are unattractive. According to Psychology Today, not me, a controversial article was posted on their site entitled, "Why Are Black Women Less Physically Attractive Than Other Women?" Now, the article posted by blogger Satoshi Kanazawa is based on a study conducted in which several people were interviewed, number undisclosed, on the Scientific Fundamentalist blog.
Black men in the United States face a far more dire situation than is portrayed by common employment and education statistics. A flurry of new scholarly studies warn, and it has worsened in recent years, even as economic boom and a welfare overhaul have brought gains to black women and other groups.
Obesity has become a part of black culture. Among African Americans 20 years and older, more than 2/3 are overweight or obese. That's very adult and professional. Or obese, as defined by a body mass index, a BMI, MICA, of 25 pounds or more. Now, according to BMI charts, a woman who's 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighs 150 pounds, how tall are you and how much do you weigh? I'm sorry.
This is also from the Ebony Article, the ratio of college age, 18 to 24, 4 to 1. Y'all see it? 32% of black boys between 18 and 24, or 1 out of 3, is in college right now. 6.3, black men enroll in college higher than anybody except for Asian men, by gender. Does that make sense? So we go to school, enroll more than white men, and we enroll more than Hispanic men. Make sense? 25.1% of black men over the age of 25 have either an associate's, bachelor's, PhD, master's degree. 25% of them. Here's the one that gets me in trouble at HBCUs. Don't nobody throw nothing at me.
The ratio of men to women on Howard University's campus is about 1 to 13. It's ridiculous. It's a lot more women than men at these HBCUs.
What's the ratio of women to men on Howard?
Like 18 to 1?
1 to, it's outrageous.
I would say 7 to 1.
What's like slim to 9 to 1?
Like 20 to 1.
13 to 1.
11 to 1. I'm gonna be optimistic and say 9 to 1.
Man, the ratio like 10 to 1.
I think it's like 13 to 1.
Say so.
11 to 1.
It's 7 to 3. That's a lot of.
So that's almost 2 to 1.
No.
7 to 3 is 2 to 1.
And what kind of math is you doing?
What's the ratio of women to men on this campus?
I think what 18 to 1.
3 to 6 is 2 to 1.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
7 to 1 is what I
7 to 1
said.
is 7 to 3.
I meant 7 to 1.
See,
Who was saying 3? I apologize.
It's horrible. I mean, they don't. It's so sad that there are not enough African American men here. It's ridiculous.
It's too much women to a little bit of men, and I love every bit of it.
What's the ratio of women to men on Howard University?
Ooh, too many.
I think it's like 11 to 1.
Like 9 to 2.
The ratio is 14 to 1.
18 to 1.
9 to 1.
The ratio is great, man.
What's the number, man?
It's like,
break
1
it
to
down.
16.
No.
1 to
It's like,
16,
no.
but you gotta count.
No.
But you gotta count out
It's
the
like
weekend.
one-
Give me a number, please.
11 to 1?
No, I think it's 7 to 1. 7 to 1.
I thought it was 11 to 1. I really don't care.
What's the number, man?
1,000 to 1.
Why you say 1,000 to
It's a
1?
lot of women here.
I know it's a lot, but 1,000?
1,000.
Nah,
It's like 2 or 3 to 1. They posted it in a.
No, 2 to 1 wrong.
I read it in an article.
This came out in February, and I gotta be Christ-like. Do I have to preach tomorrow? Is that right? I'm preaching? Ernie Scuggs, that dude. Atlanta Constitution Journal comes out with this piece of garbage in February. Guess what? Look at the title. Look at the title. What's that say? Brothers ain't going to school. That's what it sounds like to me. Right? Where the brothers? And it's going to be a narrative about sisters are doing it for themselves, all the independent women. Brothers ain't nothing but locked up, chasing white women on the down low. Y'all know that narrative, right? Remember, I didn't give y'all the rule. Here's the rule. I'm sorry, I left this out. Never trust a man who quotes a statistic that ends in a 5 or 0. 53% don't end in a 5 and 0. We okay, right? 56%. Jane's still good, right? What did he do right there?
10.
No. What is that?
0.
It ends in 0, and what else? He wrote it out.
Oh, yeah.
He wrote out 10. That tells me he got lazy as an investigative journalism, and he didn't even put the word about. I would have took about. Or it's approximated. I'll take that.
Right.
You know what I mean? That basically says, I couldn't find it.
Right.
You understand? No, he said 10% of black males who attend go to the, and then I'm like, I call BS, so what do? I go pull my numbers. 7.8. Black men are everywhere. Black men are at every kind of university except HBCUs.
What do you think the ratio of black females to males are enrolled in college? We've had 13 to 1, 4 to 1, 3 to 1, 2 to 1. It is actually 1.37 to 1. I know. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing it. Look. And here are the numbers. 3 to 1, 930,000 females.
I'm being handed the paper right
930,000
now.
females, 674,000 males. Enrolled in college. 1.37. We didn't say graduated. We said 1. But that's a little over. That's not 2 to 1. That's 1.37 to 1. Okay.
You know, when I said 13 to 1, it's what it felt like in the classroom at the time. Now, maybe I was
They were all in the jail.
taking women's studies at the time, and I haven't.
I would bet.
And there's a lot of women in the room.
Just like us. Yes, sir.
More black men in
This was not on that list, but have you ever heard this one? Because I see this online a lot.
Yeah.
More black men in prison that were ever in slavery. Have you ever heard that one?
That's not on this list.
But has anybody heard that one? Because as
I've
of a
heard
week
there
ago,
were
I
more
saw
black
that.
men killed and all. Yes, I've heard a lot of those. And here's the point. The point is, those things you hear, you need to find out if they're actually true. Because if you had walked into the barbershop, which is where we all, I don't know why I come on here, and you pose these kind of questions, which is what this brother did, overwhelmingly, everybody said basically, oh man, all brothers are doing it. Brothers, more black men in prison, more. These are commonly held beliefs. And the reason I'm doing this is that Black History Month is all about getting the truth. We're finding out truths from the past, but maybe our present day truths are not true either.
Well, what is
But I want to say too.
That's what we're trying to find out.
As you were asking the questions as we were going on, I started to think of how defeatist we think we are, how defeated, let me say that, I'm sorry, we think we are. And because even when I'm answering, I'm like, why do I feel the need to throw out high numbers on negative questions? Like, why don't I feel more empowered by, and that really resonated with me as we were going through that. And I think some of it has to do with what, and this is where it's going to get really heavy, I have to say this.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with what we decide to see in our people on a day-to-day basis. What we choose to pay attention to. We always getting shot. Somebody always having a baby. They always getting divorced and breaking up. And we make that our realities of what's going on versus what's really going on.
This happens everywhere I go. I show y'all that beautiful piece of what's going on, and people just, to me, it's like, from my generation to y'all, this is like party time. Like, we should be having like Juneteenth every month. Where young black men are, what they're doing right now is crazy. 18 to 24, page down. This is the one that I just pulled up last week. This stuff right here, you were the first persons to see this publicly. Ready? Y'all ready? In 2011, last year, page down, 1,444,979 brothers in college. That's like 1.5 million of them jokers. Think about this. In 10 years, 11 years, it's almost double. Where's the memo? Where's the press release? Heard Tavis talking about it? Heard Steve talking about it? Heard Tom?
We need to understand that we are immeasurably resilient people. We need to take control over our own research. We need to look at all aspects of our community and not just look at the worst. We need to stop trusting things that we see in the media, because we have to understand that they are in the business of selling a story, and crisis sells. So we need to get real information that's going to give us real solutions to very real problems that we have.
Here's a question for you. Y'all understand where I'm working? I'm black advocacy, right? I just showed you 1.4 million black brothers in college. Y'all got that right? What percent of black boys drop out of high school? 20? Say it like you mean it. I need to hear a few. I hear 20. What else? Anybody want to go higher? 15. 16. It's like a bidding auction. 22. I got 22. Anybody? 22. I got 23. Anybody? 23. I got 23. 24. I got 24 in the back. 25. 25. 26. 26. 30. I got 30. Anybody know 30? 38 in the front going what? 75? 38? Oh, so you gotta go 39, 38, 39, 38, 39, 38, 38, 39, 38 going once, 38 going twice. 38 is the high response in Virginia Union. Y'all need to give it up, because do y'all know what the word median is? Median means the most consistent response is 50. Okay. What percent of black boys drop out of high school?
I don't know, something like 50?
Oh, I don't know. I'm guessing maybe 60?
Yeah, 60. I'm gonna say probably 60%.
Maybe 47%.
32.
53%. I'll give it 50%.
I would say about 75 to 80%.
50%.
I'd say about 50%.
About 40% or so.
70%.
Excuse me.
I don't know.
Take a guess.
50.
45.
You talk about period, right? High school? Oh, I'm gonna say about 70. I'm gonna raise that to 70%. 70.
That's because you're white.
80.
Wasn't that like 80%? 90%?
Damn.
45%? 35%?
I'd
say maybe about 60.
64%.
I don't know. Like 50.
What percent of black boys drop out of high school?
80. 60.
60. I would say 60.
98.
I don't think it's. I'm here.
And that's not true. That's absolutely not true. If you're suggesting that, or if you're basing dropout rate on the percentage of black men drop out that never return to school within a certain period of time, that to me is a less instructive statistic than looking at how many black men graduated. Because we're splitting hairs. If you're saying that, because if you say 12%, then the average person would think that you're saying 88% of black men graduate from high school, which is far from true.
Well, let me say this. Just like I commended you for your scholarship on prison to college, I want to also commend you on this dropout rate. Now, I've written a book titled Reducing the Black Male Dropout Rate, and I relied on the Schott Foundation along with Education Week, and I still believe and trust some of those stats where there's a 52 to 53% dropout rate. But as an honest scholar, I have to, look at their data. I have to look at yours.
I think it's both wrong and a different interpretation. One of the problems with the dropout rate, measuring it at all, is when do you start the clock? If you live in Baltimore, Maryland, is it from the time that you're born that you're counted as someone who should graduate high school in Baltimore, Maryland? Or is it from the time that you enter the 9th grade? Or is it from the time that you enter the 12th grade? Because each one of them is a different number.
This is going to be a video that you won't see because I don't want to waste more of your time. It's Mario Van Peebles basically coming on screen and going, 50% of black boys drop out of high school. Got it? Page down. Yeah, no, it's actually a movie called Bring Your A Game that I walked out of when they got some names in that Puffy in there, Russell in there. It's some big names. Spike, I think, is in. It's some big names, and they all sitting up there going, 50% of black boys drop out of high school.
NCES, 12.1% dropout rate. True
Right.
or false?
True.
So, but others would say that it's higher than that, like 50%.
Well, yeah. I mean.
Like, they made a whole movie called "Bring Your A Game, You Bumps."
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And again, you know our differences.
Right.
And you used to work with a boxer, right? so you gonna pound them. I'm bringing this all together, okay. and I will say that I have used "Bring Your A Game" many times with youth. Now I will correct that stat for them, and other things that they say in "Bring Your A Game," because I know in that movie, Mario Van Peebles, he says there are more black men in prison than in college. That's a fact. He says it just like that. And so after I use it, I do have to correct that. I do have to correct that for the young men. But the essence of what they're saying, the motivations they give, when they talk about the brother sweeping, making his way up, all of that's correct. But as far as the numbers are concerned, the 50% figure, it's based on a metric that has a lot of error in it, and they're
Talk to me like I'm a 4-year-old.
Okay,
tell me why the 50% is either valid, invalid, correct, or incorrect.
Sure.
I'm like a 4th grader.
Okay, all right. So there are different ways to look at the percent of dropouts. We can look at the census, which estimates that about 20% of African American males don't go on to get a GED or a high school diploma. We could also look at the National Center for Education Statistics, which uses the current population survey to estimate the number of people who will either stop going to school when they are eligible legally to stop going to school, and the ones that don't complete their GED or a high school diploma. Now, as far as the graduation rate, and this is where people get mixed up, and I've even talked to principals that don't know the difference between the graduation rate and the dropout rate. Now, intuitively, if somebody tells you there is a 50% graduation rate, you think that the opposite end of the coin is a dropout rate, but that's just not true. The graduation rate is calculated through a process where you look at the number of ninth graders in the school and look at the percent that are still there 4 years later.
John Jackson, President and CEO of the Schott Foundation for Public Education. You want to talk about hoodwinked. Prior to the Schott Foundation, led by my predecessor, Dr. Rosa Smith and Michael Holzman, agreeing to take a look at the state data on graduation results and disaggregate that data by race and gender, states were reporting the averages. So you would go to a particular state or school where 90% of the white students were graduating, but 30% of the African American students, and the school was reporting a 75% graduation rate. So the Schott Foundation decided to accept the data from the states, look at it, disaggregate it by race, ethnicity, and gender, and ask one simple question. How many ninth graders entered that particular year? And of that ninth grade cohort, how many graduated 4 years later? But in fact, as we've published these reports, only 50%, less than 50% of African American males are graduating from high school within that 4-year period, compared to over 75%. And that's where we believe that our black males are being hoodwinked.
This is the one that's really going. This is status dropout rate, 16 to 20. This is one that most people like. This is one I like. Looking at 16 to 24-year-olds, not in school and don't have a high school diploma. This is the one that generally is accepted. For black boys in that period, it was 10.6 was the dropout rate. Y'all see it? This is black from 2000 to 2009 males. Y'all see that? Schott did nothing disingenuous or misrepresented. They reported exactly correct. That number, 55% graduate with their cohort. Y'all know what a cohort is? No? I'm gonna explain, page down. I'll get you a true story. Y'all ready? This is my friend Harold. He works at WHUR. This is my friend Mark, who I don't know where he is. Sylvester's dead, and this is me. Got it? We all go into the 9th grade together. See that? Page down. 11th grade year, Mark got held back. Got it? Page down. Guess who the other one is? Me. I transferred schools between junior year. I went from Roosevelt. Where's my Akaki girl at? What happened to her? In DC, not in PG. Eleanor Roosevelt, in the tech program. And then graduated from Largo. Cohorts basically says, do you understand this now? If you go by cohorts, basically they saying only 50% of us graduated. Does that make sense? No? Yes? Page down. And this is why this is a slap in the face to single black mothers raising black boys. I don't know why y'all haven't gotten fired up with this. This is a story about a woman in Ohio who basically got thrown in jail for taking her kids out of a bad, crummy school district and putting them in the white district. I got this great footage that I can't use in the movie because I don't want to get nobody in trouble, but I live in PG, which is right next to DC, and there's a school down there, which I can't say my name, and at 2:30 every day you see just this row of cars from DC tags. Right? You know how we do, right? Guess what your single mothers are doing, black boys? Between the time you're in 9th grade and 12th grade, a lot of them are moving you out of bad school districts into better school districts. Oh, you know what I'm talking about now, right? Well, guess what you're counted as by that school district? As a dropout. So when you look at the Schott report, and look at the worst places, guess why they're the worst place? Because they got crummy schools. Inner city Baltimore, DC, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago. The worst. And guess what? Why? Take this home, black women. They talking about you because black women are breaking their necks for these black boys to get them up out of this foolishness, and you got organizations telling us that they dropping out. It's not true. They do not graduate with their cohorts.
Dr. Marco Clark. I'm the founder and CEO of Richard Wright Public Charter School in Washington, D.C. First of all, there's been discussion about kids graduating in 4 to 6 years. Some people say but you can't. From high school. They're spending 6 years in high school that you still make whatever. Yeah, cohort. That's incorrect. Because when you look at the numbers, the kids that start in 9th grade, 4 years later, if they don't graduate, they're considered a dropout. You talk about spending 6 years at a high school and then you say, I'm still getting them to college, that number doesn't make sense to me. Well, I mean, we not just DC, but any other urban center around it. I mean, if you look at every urban public school system, all right, none of them are really doing over 50% of kids as far as graduating when you look at the major cities. You take, for instance, you look at Philadelphia, the graduation rate was like 45%. All right, you look at Baltimore, the graduation rate is like 52%. You look at New Orleans, of course, they busted up the whole New Orleans school system because they could not get it going. You look at Atlanta, Georgia, you got people conspiring to cheat on assessments so that they can try to increase the proficiency rate to show that it's going. The urban centers around that are predominantly people of color, they are not performing well at all.
I talked to Yusuf, and I was editing your footage last night, and I'm gonna close this door.
Hey, what's up?
So you're my man, right? First time I come in and I interview you, I don't know you from a can of paint, you don't know who I am. And I did it because Yusuf told me to. He said, who's Marco? I was like, well, I don't know. That's the way it was. But Yusuf's my man, I want you in the film. Last night I'm editing the footage, right? So Steve's my boy, Mark Lamont Hill's my boy, and Marco, we all boys. And when I said on the phone to you, I don't want to frame you like this conversation getting ready to go down real heavy. So this whole dropout thing. And what I found out, Yusuf became a believer on Friday, and I want to do this with you to see if it works. First question is, have you ever been to the Department of Education website and looked out the dropout rate?
I haven't looked at the dropout rate.
From the Department of Education?
I have not. I looked at the graduation rate.
Okay, so we know they're two different things.
Absolutely.
Okay. In our other conversation from what I saw last night, you were citing SHOT a lot.
Exactly.
Okay. Can you please go to the Department of Education website right now?
Wow. .6. In comparison to Hispanic is higher. Female dropout rate.
2006, who dropped out at a higher rate, black men or black women?
Black women.
Roll away for a second. Talk to me for a second. What you just said?
I saw some data, man, that really contradicts what I've seen in other stuff. I can't believe it's a 10.6 in 2009, 9.7 dropout rate, which was lower than African American females in 2006. And even lower than Hispanic dropout rates for males in that category, as well as females, Hispanic.
Have you ever looked at the DOE for dropout before?
I've never looked at the dropout rate. I've only looked at the graduation rate. because that's all that we are basically required to do is focus on how many kids are going to graduate. But I never looked at the percentage of students that are graduating. It is an eye-opener to see that black males are not dropping out at a rate that's projected. It's interesting. I've always had an issue around that because it seems like it's more African American males that are incarcerated on a daily basis, especially when you talk about the pipeline of prison from grade 3 to 12th grade, building prisons by grade 3. You never would imagine that in 2006, really during the time when No Child Left Behind, accountability was there, that you would have a dropout rate of African American males that was published on a website that would actually, a national website that would actually say this. It's amazing.
Third and fourth grade test scores are used as indicators or predictors to build a number of prisons. There has been no research to show that that is actually true.
Take away 1 point from DC.
I heard, like you, Lady Estelle,
Right,
I have
that's
heard
what
that.
I've heard.
I
That's
have
what I've
quoted
heard.
that. I've
Right.
said that. Somebody told me that. It's not true. In fact, one reason I did some research, somebody was putting this paper together because I was speaking to somebody and he was quoting it, so we actually found, and I haven't found it. If it's true, we have not found that in any research to be true.
True or false? In 2006, 2007, and 2008, black girls dropped out of high school at a higher rate than black boys.
False.
True or false? 2006, 2007, and 2008, black girls dropped out of high school at a higher rate than black boys.
I'm not sure. I say false.
Oh, false.
False?
False.
False.
It's actually true.
Are you serious?
True. I would say true. False.
False?
I put false.
Okay. The answer is true. I got the data. No, don't cheer for that.
No, I'm cheering just because I was right. That's all.
okay.
Because I was right. That's all.
I can't answer that question.
Why?
Honestly, I'm not sure. We would all assume that it would be black males. But, I mean, at the same time, females are doing the same things that African American males are doing. So I'm not sure.
I would say false too.
No, it's true. So here's the question for the movie.
Wait, the females had a higher?
Females dropped out at a higher rate than black boys.
Am I reading this right?
No, wait. I think, man. I was gonna say false, but then I was gonna say true because they probably got pregnant and dropped out.
Why would black girls drop out at a higher rate than black boys?
Pregnancy? Yeah, that's all I can think. That's about it.
I probably agree with her, like teen pregnancy.
Why would black girls be dropping out at a higher rate than black boys?
Pregnancy.
Why are black girls dropping out at such a high rate?
Because of high teen pregnancy rates.
Same with teen pregnancy.
An unstable home.
What's that mean?
It means like their home is not stable. They don't have both parents in the house, and there might be some problems going on at home.
Societies are changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're becoming more dominant in today's society and doing things that, you know, guys are typically seen doing as far as dropping out, selling drugs. Females are doing the same things, you know, that everyone assumes.
Step up.
Right. That most guys are
And
doing.
if it's the bad way, then it's the bad way. They have to step up. They're stepping up in the bad way and a good way.
If the answer is true, now here's where the larger society has messed with your mind. Oh, I gave you the answer already. Daggone it, I messed this section up. Okay, whatever. When I go out on the street and ask people why are girls dropping out, what do you think they say? Pregnancy. Do y'all think it's pregnancy?
It's black teen pregnancy rates. This thing's been cut in half. It's not pregnancy.
No, it's not pregnancy. And the funny thing of it is we're less than Hispanics now. 55, 51. What it is that girls need to feel connected to their environments, and their behaviors now are matching boys.
Are you serious?
A correction from a story we reported earlier today where we stated black males between the ages of 16 to 24 who dropped out of college were now incarcerated. The story should have read black males between the ages of 16 to 24 who have dropped out of high school are more than likely incarcerated.
Do stereotypes actually help black women succeed? African American women are increasingly surpassing their male counterparts in education, taking on many leadership roles in the workplace, according to a study.
You're saying that they have saying African American females have a higher incidence of going to college than white women? Okay. And
White women, Asian women, and Hispanic.
And again, when I look at it from the inputs, African American girls and boys are going to the worst schools that graduate the lowest percentage of all children. So if they graduate the lowest percentage of all children, if African American boys and girls, as measured by state standardized examinations and SATs and ACTs, are among the lowest performers, it would be an act of God beyond anything that I've seen.
They believe that if they take all the negative stats and know that and talk about that with the kids that they're working with, then both them and the kids will be motivated to beat the odds.
That they would somehow outpace white, Asian, and others who all go to better schools, score higher on their state and national examinations. It simply is beyond the numbers to say that those numbers exist.
And so people who believe that way, one thing that they do is they tend to not really focus on anything positive. You know, they don't really see a use for that.
Again, it takes the information and it skews it back to the point about the higher incidences. Yeah, there's a higher incidence of, there are more white people on welfare. Yeah, there are more white people in jail, but the greatest impact is among African Americans.
They tend to be skeptical about anything that doesn't show young black men in a bad light because they have fed their own spirit and mind with the worst.
Because we have double the nation's unemployment. We know that there's a direct correlation between employment, sustenance, and college attainment. Meaning that if we were sending that many kids to college, then we would have more people employed.
And so, but you know, that's what they use in order to try to push the young black males to be better.
Steve Perry, high school principal, founder of the Capital Preparatory Magnet School in Hartford, Connecticut, also CNN's education contributor. 100% of our graduates go on to four-year colleges every year since we opened in 2005. It means to me that we have shown that the achievement gap is movable, that the notion that black children cannot go to college, that Latino children cannot go to college, is one that is false and is impacted by our belief in it. As long as we believe in it, it's like the boogeyman. The achievement gap is the boogeyman. If you believe it has to be, then it's there.
This is a white woman, black woman, Hispanic woman, and Asian woman. Pick which one, 5%, enrolls in college the most.
It can seep into the spirit of these young kids, and on a subconscious level, they might doubt their own abilities. And I think that that's something that's dangerous.
The real reasons 70% of black women are single. We've all heard on Oprah, CNN, ABC News, and The Washington Post that 70% of black women are single and 42% are unmarried. Well, we've recently seen and heard a young black woman, Helena Andrews, say that she's successful, black, and lonely, and that, according to her, is the new black.
And here's the title she doesn't have.
That's
like
pretty.
Me and all of my friends.
Where'd you buy that?
None of your business.
Here is the data set that Steve Harvey got put on. He got on Nightline, and Oprah put him on the couch. And he had town hall meetings with Essence Magazine all over the country off of this statistic. 42.5% of black women have never been married. It was true. It's true. 42% of y'all have never been married. And remember, social data is not touching y'all. Even though it's over 18 years, I don't even think y'all should be in there because you're in school. You understand what I'm saying? Am I moving too fast? Page down. Same data set. This is one would have shut Steve down, that daggone book. And I'll tell you a story. Me and Michael Basin were on stage, and George Wilbon, we there trying to get mentors for black men. Mike's been on the air all day, all week long. 150 people showed up. Steve Harvey showed up at the bookstore at, I don't want to say their name, but anyway, he showed up at the bookstore. That thing was like a Parliament Funkadelic concert. I'm serious. I was supposed to meet like Steve Harvey's producer, and I turned back around. It was cars, women's lined up, and here is the game. Same data set. 42% of black women ain't never been married, but guess what, black men? 45, never been married. The conversation should have always been about the uncoupled rates of not only black Americans, but Americans over the past 40 years. That conversation don't get you on Oprah's couch. Steve Harvey's proposition was, y'all should date older men because we know how to treat you like a lady. I heard that before. That's a pimp.
See, the fact of me, what bothers me is that this image dominates America. This slice of black America dominates America. And it's a slice, but it's the only slice that everybody sees. And the fact that you can't get, let me see, if there was value and we wanted those negative statistics to go away, you talked about funding, the programs that's actually doing that will be the ones that get funded. Because you want that stuff to go away. So give them the fundings, give them the news, push them out there, let them see that, yeah, things are really on the up. But when you focus on the negative all the time, it reinforces everybody's
then we couldn't be victims.
Then they'll call that propaganda.
We couldn't play the victim card as much.
And my point is, everybody's in on this. Everybody's in on this. We are part of it. They're a part of it. We're just exposing it. That's what we do here on Street Soap.
Man.
Dig deep and find out who the hell you are first. I mean, really find out who you are and accept that person. Love that person. don't abandon who you are so you can fit into a mold that somebody's telling you to fit in, right?
We need to give children access to quality education right now. Vouchers are a must. We cannot allow children to be forced to attend failed schools any longer. I believe that every single parent who's forced to send their child to a failed school should sue the school for damages. Straight up sue them for cash.
Because whether you're a thug or a corporate monkey, you're fitting into somebody's mold, right? I want to be the good Negro, so I'll get all the promotions and all that. Or I want to be, I want to run the streets and, be a thug because that's what's cool. Now, no.
Because we know for a fact how many wages are lost. We know the potential cost to the community when a child doesn't have access to a quality education. We can actually draw a straight line and have been able to do so for generations. Sue your schools for damages. Forget the civil rights stuff. Y'all can march all you want. I ain't marching.
Figure out who you are. And figure out who you are and who you want to be, and love those realities. I mean, really love and embrace them and have faith in them, and then don't be afraid of letting that reality exist in the world.
It would be fathers. As you know, unfortunately, only 28% of our youth have their fathers in the home. I believe more than we could solve our problems tonight if we got rid of sperm donors.
I think that the idea of a black crisis can be looked at as an opportunity to cash in, as an opportunity to produce books and TV specials and movies and self-help guides and seminars and workshops, and we can use the black crisis as an opportunity to make money and exploit the very people we're trying to help.
There are 5 types of daddies in Black America: sperm donors, ice cream daddies, no-show daddies, step-daddies, and daddies who have never left their children. And I believe you look at all the social ills, illiteracy, incarceration, drug addiction, teen pregnancy, the common thread: did the father stay?
Or we can use the very real black crisis, the crisis of employment, the crisis of incarceration, the crisis of education, as an opportunity to organize ourselves, to mobilize ourselves, to galvanize ourselves. It's an opportunity to figure out internally what is causing these deep wounds.
We have seen for too long too many excuses. We know that our children are not inherently less intelligent. They're just as intelligent as any other child. Put them in the same classes, giving them the same access and the same expectations, and you will see the same or greater things happen.
And so we had more of our fathers in the home. And what's sad is that the rumor is slavery destroyed the black family. Well, slavery ended in 1865 and 1920. 55 years after slavery ended, 90% of black youth had their fathers in the home.
When black kids can come from the worst conditions known in this country, when Latino kids can come from the worst conditions known in this country and still make it to college, that's a powerful little boy. That's a bad little girl.
In 1960, 100 years after slavery, in terms of mass migration from the South to the North, 80% of our youth had their fathers in the home.
When she can come up out of these raggedy situations and still make it, and still get behind somebody's desk, and still be doing what everybody else is doing, still be at that same corporation, still fighting for the same jobs, still doing well in college, that's a special kid. I happen to believe that there are more kids out there. There's just not enough of them. The doors are not big enough. The doorways are not big enough for all of them to get through.
Can you imagine they show some 25-year-old single parent father braiding his 5-year-old daughter's hair in preparation for church the next morning? Let that be the lead story on the news.
Figure out what's causing self-hate, what's causing us to turn on each other instead of to each other.
If all 1.1 million black males who are in undergraduate programs, if all of them graduated eventually, then that would increase the total number of black males in the US population who have at least a bachelor's degree by 71%. Nearly achieving parity with white males.
But if we have more people like you in the film business emphasizing the positive and not the negative, it will happen. Because we're going to call things that be not as though they were. Romans 4:17.
And I think when we think about those kinds of issues, we start to approach the problem a little bit differently. Because right now our assumption is that we're losing black males in college to to black males in prison, there's only, these two percentages are so far apart. For the majority of black males, their life trajectory does not involve either one.
All of that stuff is the work that we can do as a community to fix the very real crisis. But if we do nothing but continue to complain about what's wrong and not do anything about it, if we continue to buy into the crisis industry, instead of doing the work that needs to be done, then we will be hoodwinked.
Last slide and we out of here. This is my last message to you, my Joshua generation. We have come to the point in our history where we can no longer afford to do what we were brought here to do. Our time has come and it's on you. We have to do what we were sent here to do.
That's our news for tonight. I'm Sean Jackson.
And I'm Micah Davis. Good night.
So long, but now the truth is revealed. They told you lies, they made you cry. Ooh, thank your Father for setting us free for eternity. This is what black men think. What they think, what they know. I'm telling you,